you already know about pre-Revolutionary War? Now, pre-revolutionary is before the war started. So let's just make a little list. What do you know already about the events that led up to the Revolutionary War? Anything? Yeah?
The colonists were not free yet.
Yeah. What about, were they not free or they weren't?
Too much tax.
Independent.
Yeah, they weren't independent.
Boston Tea Party.
Say that again?
The Boston Tea Party. Boston Tea
Why did you use a British accent? You should use a Boston accent.
Well, yeah, the
Boston
tea.
Hi.
They're all like, ooh, take this tea. And we're like,
The Americans.
Party of taxes, the king is so greedy.
So it had to do with taxes or the king being greedy?
he's like, I mean, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I'm gonna tax all these colors
Right.
on stuff
Julia?
that they need.
Oh, sorry, you don't. I thought that was true.
Yeah.
You guys switch seats.
Yeah, it's like,
It's okay. Right, gotta just close your book, head up. What else do you know about the Boston Tea Party?
Tea Party. They used to have tea party. Tea.
What?
Tea. Drink.
What did they do with the tea? They drank it?
Kawaii.
Yeah, they threw it where?
To the sea.
Yeah, into the sea.
Why?
Threw it in the water.
Why? Because
They were getting taxed.
the king was
Why?
like, oh,
Right. Who can give me, guys, I know it's kind of funny, but let's try to keep focused. So who can give me a really good 1 or 2 sentence description of why they threw it in the water?
hate to.
Ray, you want to say something? No? Okay, then keep your chair on the ground. Hands in front of you, not on the table behind you. Okay? Thank you. Ellie?
Maybe. The king was putting lots of taxes on this tea, and so they're like, we're not going to pay for it. We're just going to throw it in the water.
Right, and what's a tax? Bing? What is a tax?
Tax, like you have to give the taxes to the government so you can live in your place.
Yeah, but you have to give the tax to the government, but what is the tax?
The money that you give to your government.
Yeah, so sometimes you'll pay a tax based on how much you earn or what you buy, and that goes to the government. And why do you think they were angry about the taxes, besides the king being greedy? DK? Why would they be angry about the taxes? Jude?
Because teas are so wonderful for them.
So, what does that have to do with taxes?
So much demand, like they had a huge demand of tea, and suddenly the king just put the tax.
Oh, and they have nowhere else to get it. Yeah.
That's a big.
Good. So besides the Boston Tea Party, what else do you know about the years right before the Revolutionary War?
Oh, I was going to say, didn't he also put taxes on like stamps and other stuff that they needed?
Yes, we are going to talk about that today.
That's like,
Yes.
no, I don't think that was right. Was it like the Freedom Fighters?
Freedom fighters?
No, I feel like that's later on.
Yeah, that's later on.
We need the 5 eagles.
So I'm going to take just maybe 2 or 3 minutes. I want you each in your pairs to come up with 2 things you want to know, either about what we just talked about or something else about the Revolutionary War. So you need to come up with 2 questions. Ray comes over here. Ray, Charles. And then we I only have 4 markers. Under want to know.
Go there.
What? Come out.
Page 134.
Are you?
130. Maybe
No, you ruined my beautiful picture
No.
of your sad.
All right. Now today we're talking about the time before the Revolutionary War. Now, I see one of the things you want to know, or I saw it someone wrote down, is what is the Revolutionary War? Who can tell me who fought in the Revolutionary War? Julia, you had your hand up? Who fought? What two places? The Revolutionary War. Don't listen to him. Now, the United States. Right, the Revolutionary War is the colonies versus England. How many colonies were there?
13.
Right, we talked about those right before your midterms. Those 13 colonies, and they fought against England. Now, pre means before. So this is talking about some of the events that led up to the war. And today we're going to talk about 3 of them. Which one do you think is the Boston Tea Party?
The one at the end.
The left, middle, or right?
Right.
Right. How do you know?
Because there's a harbor.
Yeah, there's a boat. Yeah, exactly.
Well, one of them is a book or something.
Now this one, it's not a book. If you came up here, you'd be able to read it. It says S-T-A-M-P, stamp. Yeah, so the Boston Massacre is here. The stamp, this is called the Stamp Act. And over here is the Boston Tea Party.
Because a bunch of freakos just came after.
Stamp Act of 1765. I have, how many? 5 questions here for you. What did the Stamp Act require? Why were colonists angry? How did colonists protest? What is protest? Yeah, what does it mean, babe? Not Protestant, but it's very similar. But what does protest mean? Because the Protestants got their names from protest. But what is a protest? Micah, you talk back. Not just to talk back.
To fight back.
To fight back. If you're against something, you protest it. So how do they protest the Stamp Act? What does taxation without representation mean? And what events led to the repeal of the Stamp Act? That's another more difficult word. Who knows what repeal means? Do you know? Noah?
It's like to, in this case, like get rid of.
To get rid of, to take it back. So if they pass the law and then they repeal it, means it's not a law anymore.
Right down.
So what is that the taxes paid?
Okay, it's 2.
So what did the Stamp Act? Because, so the stamp is to show that the taxes have been paid. So they would put the stamp on the goods, like books, or the tea, or the gun, to show that the taxes have been paid. So the Stamp Act required the stamp to be put items to show them. Let's see. Julia, what did the Stamp Act require? Who? Who's they? Colonists had to have a stamp?
No, the people,
Colonists are people.
the villagers,
No. Not people.
the
Yeah, the things. What things? It gives you a list of things that had to have a stamp.
Paper, bananas, playing card, dice, diplomats, marriage paper, and wills.
Yeah, so all those items, all those products had to carry a stamp. Why were the colonists angry?
Because taxes were unjust and unnecessary.
Yeah. So why, what does that mean? Unjust and unnecessary.
They cannot say, it is not good.
Yeah, but why were they unjust?
Because tax was so high and they had to pay so many things.
Yeah, you're getting there. Not bad. June, what else?
Because really just the council of England who chose it, they didn't do anything to it. We wanted to get it.
Right, yeah. Not only were the taxes really high, Julia, not only were the taxes really high, but the colonists had no say in what they were taxed on or how high or how low the taxes were. But it's not only, what you have to remember, it's not only they were angry that now they had to pay taxes, but they were angry that they had to pay taxes and they really got nothing back. Where did all that tax money go? Boom? Where did the tax money go? To the king, right, to England. It wasn't in their own colonies. As we do not want to pay taxes, and then everyone signs it. And let's skip to number 5. Which one of these protests, which events led to the repeal, to the takeaway of the Stamp Act? One of these was pretty successful. Which one? Ray? Which one of the protests was successful? The boycott or the petition? You don't even need to look at your notes. Let's just think about it. So a boycott is where you're stopping buying those goods, and a petition is where everyone writes their name on a piece of paper. You think people writing their names saying we don't want taxes is better?
No,
Why boycott?
because we do action.
Yeah, it's an action. Yeah, good. And people stopped buying those. So the merchants, the British merchants, were very upset about that. And eventually, the Stamp Act was repealed. It was a lot. What's that? Not? All right. This is a simple one. What law provoked the Boston Massacre? We need to go to page number 138. Which law provoked? By the way, what does provoke mean? Provoke. No, what's provoke? Yeah, to cause or make something happen.
What do you mean?
Thank you. Yes, the Quartering Act.
What is it?
What is that? Good question. The Quartering Act is a law that says the citizens of the colonies have to let the British soldiers live with them. They have to give them a place to sleep and food to eat. Quarter is like hosting them. Do you think people would like that law?
Well, depending on who likes to sleep with a soldier.
Well, remember, they're not really very happy with the soldiers, so someone you're not very happy with having to stay at your house. Who are the lobsterbacks? Lobsterbacks. In which paragraph can you find it in?
I found it on the crowd challenges British soldiers.
Right.
It was the redcoats.
Yeah, the redcoats. And who are the redcoats?
They were British soldiers.
Yeah, the British soldiers, their uniform, their army uniform was a red coat, so people called them lobsterbacks because the animal lobsters are red when you cook them. Right. So let's find out what happened at the Boston Massacre. We know that colonists were angry about the Quartering Act. Let's keep reading. We're going to start at the bottom of page 138. Britain also sent 2 regiments to Boston to protect customs officers from the local citizens.
Then the Boston crowd began to throw snowballs, oyster shells, and chunks of ice at the soldiers.
Right, so the colonists are really angry with the British soldiers. They start throwing snowballs, ice, oyster shells. Do you think the British soldiers are happy about that? Right, okay. And we don't need to read for this, but what do you think? How did the Boston Massacre set the stage or sort of come about revolutionary activities? So after the Boston Massacre, why would people want to start revolting against the British?
Because it was just another reminder that the British government was controlling them.
Right, exactly. The British government had total control. They had the Quartering Act, which required colonists to pay for the soldiers to live there. The soldiers had ended up killing the colonists, innocent people, and as you'll read later on, the soldiers, they ended up having a trial in court, and they were found not guilty. All right, we have a couple more things to get through. What did the Tea Act require? The Boston Tea Party was a protest against the Tea Act.
Wait,
So let's find out about the Tea Act, page 142. Who has an idea about what the Tea Act required? This one is a bit complicated, so, yeah, Ellie?
It let the British is that what I'm saying? Yeah, India Company, not have to go through the colonies.
Tea price was the lowest it had ever been, but people weren't very happy, were they? All right. I think this will be your homework because we're going to run out of time. I'll give you 5 minutes with your book now to take notes. Let me fix that.
Wait, so what are the pros and cons? That's our
Yeah.
homework? Okay.
What is homework?
Hold on. Just give me a second. Okay.
I guess this is the whole.
So, yes, why were colonists dissatisfied or unhappy? Why were they unhappy with the Tea Act? And what were some pros, some good things, and cons, bad things about the Act?
Oh, really?
So the Tea Act means law. So the Tea Act is the law about tea. So it didn't say that everyone has to drink tea every day. No. It has to do with the British East India Company. But the homework is the second one, this one right here. Let's focus on this one for homework.
A lot cheaper.
Well, hey, so did you said it last month?
Cheaper, but they serve people. But also, there was some bad things.
Okay, so for the 8th grade class yesterday on sort of the events leading up to the Revolutionary War, the topic was assessments. And I think I did that at the beginning, like sort of pre-assessing and seeing what they knew. But actually, they knew quite a lot less than I had anticipated, so a lot of what I'd planned didn't really work because some of the students, obviously the American ones, they knew a lot about it, and then the rest knew next to nothing.
Yeah, they didn't really have.
Like they didn't even know what the Revolutionary War
Well,
was.
for the 8th graders,
Yeah.
they didn't have that last year. I
Yeah.
taught them last year, and it was geography. The
Yeah.
7th grade is world geography. And what they did in 6th grade and before that, I really don't know.
Right, and a lot of them probably even just came to Vietnam now from their own home country or last year, so it's not like they would have
And they went to
the
different.
knowledge
they
from
went
elementary
to
schools.
different types of schools.
Yeah,
Some students went to an IB school. Some went to student school here in town. So they're getting different
yeah,
different standards and different.
yeah, just all over the place.
Yep.
And I guess that's the point of doing the pre-assessment, is to see where they are, because if I hadn't done that and I just started talking about it, I think they would have just been totally lost.
I agree.
But yeah, it was a bit disappointing because I had planned to do an assessment to see like how much they had learned at the end of class, but I can just do that today as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was definitely not what I had expected.
Flexibility
Yeah,
is the key.
yeah, yeah.
With when you're dealing with.
But it was just really frustrating as well for Jaehyun and Charlie, who was sitting next to him. They were the first ones to finish the assignments where they were answering the questions, and I went back and I was like, what was the cause of like the Boston Massacre? And the answer, they wrote the Boston Tea Party, which we hadn't even talked about. That was like years later. They just wrote down random things just so they could be finished. It's very tough.
Yep.
Because like,
You'll get the whole spectrum
Yeah.
of learners here and
yeah.
desirability
'Cause-
of learning.
Because I can't even ask a question about, it's not like they have the wrong thing in their mind, they just don't care and they just write something random. It's not even like that's, it's
just
not
don't
even like
care.
that's what they think, it's just like,
And
they just don't care.
Parents allow it.
yeah. Yeah, they don't really get corrected at home. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes today. I was thinking of moving Jaehyun, but I don't even know where. Do you think he's best in the back corner?
I'm with you on that.
Move him?
I think we should maybe
He
put him
can
in the
take
front.
Chang's place. If Chang's not here, he can sit in
Yeah,
his spot.
that's what I need to find out. We can
Yeah.
move him in the front.
I haven't seen her today yet. He can sit there. I think it would be good for him to be in the front too, because he wouldn't be distracted by the other kids, and he would be like, at the very least, I could see that he's not doing anything, whereas in the back,
When
he's
he's
not doing anything, but I
sleeping,
can't even
right.
see. Yeah. Okay, I'll try moving him today.